Good evening, fellow ghouls and specters alike. Your ghost host with the most here, Tiki.
And BlueDragonFive.
And SandyClaws.
And Jacob Wile too.
Here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs and dusting off the cobwebs as we recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So light the jack-o'-lanterns, suit up, and grab the cheese and crackers, Gromit, as we revive and recount tonight's selection. Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Jolly good. Jolly good, Gromit.
Oh, don't forget the crackers, Gromit. So can I just say, like Rabbit Wallace is one of my favorite things ever.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, folks, so tonight we are talking about a beloved animated film from 2005, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, of course. This is the second feature-length animated film from Aardman Animation Studios. And one of the big reasons we're doing this, just besides the fact that, of course, it's a fantastic movie. I actually just saw it today, and I'm like watching it just for the first time today. I'm like, why the hell have I not been watching this for the past 10 years? So, of course, one of the big reasons, besides just the fact that it's a fantastic movie, is sadly we did lose the beloved voice actor of Wallace, Peter Salise, this year.
Wallace.
So,
Wallace, we just talked about this.
He's not Italian, Tiki.
Peter's. Okay,
Sounds
can
like
I just start again so I can like keep the somber tone and we don't have to joke about the Italian thing?
Go on. That's Italian.
Okay, so sadly
Italian.
we lost Peter Sallis this year, and it's a very somber occasion. But we're going to gather around and discuss probably the high point of his entire career, because this movie. Yeah, folks, I've only seen it once, but dare I say it's a masterpiece. I mean, it truly is just, I love this movie.
The funny thing you said, though, because he actually preferred the shorts over this movie. He wasn't really a big fan of this.
Really? Huh.
He preferred the shorts over this.
All right. Well,
Must have been a lot of work for him. I mean, Wallace, he really steals the show with this.
So, what's everyone's background on Aardman Animation? Like, what's your nostalgia there?
Not really much for me. I mean, I remember owning a copy of Chicken Run, but I don't remember really watching it at all. But I did watch this. I mean, I never really watched this either when it first came out. But I guess you could say my first experience with Aardman was probably the Shaun the Sheep shorts.
Okay.
I mean, but I didn't really even know it was Aardman. I just thought it was like some random thing on Disney Channel that I like to watch. I didn't even know I didn't realize it was Aardman until many years later. Like, oh, Aardman made that. Nice.
It's really weird to associate Aardman with Disney. I never think of that.
I mean,
no, because of course, like Aardman is paired pretty much in theatrical films with DreamWorks.
Exactly.
So. It's funny. You know what I realized?
I think it's just like Disney owned the United States broadcasting rights for him, I think.
Okay, so tell me if I'm wrong. Aardman Animation is basically DreamWorks equivalent to Pixar.
Well,
technically no, because Aardman only worked with DreamWorks 3 times.
Yeah,
and they had a major falling out.
Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I did not know about the falling out.
I'll let you know all about it. Just been a while.
All right, fair enough.
We'll get there.
I just think in terms of like how, at least in the golden days when this movie was being made and everything, you could kind of look like it's like Chicken Run and this. Especially.
I think the better comparison. This could have been DreamWorks Touchstone. I think that's kind of the better.
Yeah.
As for my nostalgia with Aardman and Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run, I grew up with. I still watch it to this day. I'll watch it, several times a year just because, it's such a great movie. Aardman, I love, just odd British humor. It's nice just to sit back and watch a film that's not full of swearing and, just raunchy humor and stuff like that. I think Wallace and Gromit is just a great almost escape from 2D animation. It's like because Aardman, I was talking about this off air, but you have Leica and you have Tim Burton's stop motion films and stuff like that, as well as a few others. But Aardman, I think is always just going to be Aardman always will be my favorite, just because of how just almost simplistic, but at the same time very stylistically complex it all is, and how it looks, and how it just you can almost feel it. Like just looking at this thumbnail picture you have pulled up here, Tiki, it's like you can almost feel all the textures there, and just it looks looks so nice. And of course, involved with the marvelous voice acting and everything. I picked up on all this from a very young age, and I've loved Aardman for years and years and years. And I remember watching the Wallace and Gromit specials they had. I remember watching Loaf and Death, I think it was called, back when it came out in like 2008. On it was like some instant play thing on the television. But anyways, I've always loved Wallace and Gromit. I've always loved Aardman. It's fantastic company. I hope I get the chance to meet Nick Park. He's such a visionary.
Dragon?
Yes, Dragon.
All right. Yes. So, boy, oh boy, man, I've been in it with Wallace and Gromit for a long time. I mean, speaking of Aardman, I'm going to start with Wallace and Gromit and bridge to the other Aardman stuff. Let's just say I've kind of most kind of unusual introduction to Wallace and Gromit back in grade school. I want to say it was grade school. It's been long ago. Basically, we had these things where
I don't think your unusual introduction to Wallace and Gromit is going to top mine. Just saying.
All right, fine.
Just a little hit for my story.
Fine, it's an unusual introduction.
Okay, go ahead.
Once back in the day, we had these weird gatherings in the cafeteria. Basically, it was like, I guess, kind of the low rent kind of assembly, if you will. Not in the gymnasium, but it was in the cafeteria.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
they rolled this TV in there, one TV. I want to say, like an average TV on the AV card, as you tend to do. Yeah, and basically when we gather in a big old cafeteria, all these tables, essentially really kind of conference tables almost when you're a kid or when you're in schools. This is where business is done. This is where conversation. That's what it is. You're brought in there, and I remember you get scrunchy next to people like again. It's kind of almost like a very very experimental movie setting in a way. It's like like movie theater kind of setup where you're around strangers almost. So you're around just everyone from the collective classes all over, not everyone And anyway, I just remember,
I love how eloquently you're describing grade school. Go on.
Yeah. Anyway, so the two memories that always haunt me from this were like there were two VHS tapes I remember most. One was the animated adaptation of How to Eat Fried Worms, if I'm remembering the title of that correctly. You ever hear that one?
I've heard it.
Yeah, there's a live action adaptation. Yeah, there was a book, there was a live action movie, and there was an animated one. The animated one, it was done kind of in the style.
I'm pretty sure the book was like a part of those beloved Scholastic book fairs, Dragon. That we.
I know that's what I'm saying. It was anyway, so this I want to say was like in the same style as Charlotte. So it might have been done by the same animation studio. I'm not sure. It was very similar looking, but the point is, there was an adaptation of that. So that one I remember because it was just so weird of a story to animate. But the other one was just kind of this compilation. I have to assume it's a compilation because I can never remember which was the first one I saw because I remember seeing them all. And I can only assume it was like in one sitting. Remembering it the years back of Wallace and Gromit shorts, the three before we had Loaf and Death, obviously, and those three. I mean, the one I remember most, which if I had to pick one, if there was only one, because again, just you felt so immersed in the world, and just anytime you see Wallace and Gromit, it kind of jettisoned me back to this memory. So I kind of lumped all of them together. Wrong Trousers. Wrong Trousers was the one that's most kind of tied to my experience of Wallace and Gromit, and the other ones were Close Shave and Grand Day Out. Grand Day Out, of course, looks most stylish. It was the first one, so it looks stylistically a little different. So that's kind of why it's distinct in the setting. Of course, very memorable going to the moon and stuff. But yeah, I just kind of remember being really struck by the the humor stuck out, the pacing, the visual storytelling on Gromit. I mean, it all just it was just an adventure. You sit down and you were kind of transported away, and just again, it was one of the early introductions to stop motion, along with Nightmare Before Christmas. It was really just it was an amazing experience. I just remember being captivated by them. For the longest time, aside from just their names, I didn't really know exactly what these were. I know it was Aardman. I didn't really. I was like, okay, that's Wallace and Gromit, this man, this dog, and it's these three kind of anomalies in animation kind of stuck out to me. It's like, wow, this is kind of some next level stuff. And then you see other stuff. Okay, it's kind of in the same vein of Wallace and Gromit. It's kind of like it's think of James and the Giant Peach. You have things that are kind of bridging upon. It's starting. The picture's starting to come together over the years of what this amazing thing is. You get plasticine and of course stop motion, armatures, like the whole shebang. It's very impressive. And then of course I get to the HBO era of my life, the early HBO era, where basically I remember this is the point where HBO was being sold as like the next big thing. Of course now it's completely modern, completely different. But back in the day you had this thing where they would advertise on one channel. Like I think the remote might have like a specialized button just purely for HBO, or basically there was like a movie channel, and you basically be compelled to tape them on VHS tapes, so you'd have them, and
like
they'd advertise.
And like the old days when hotels like free HBO.
Exactly, but it was like something you could also kind of do at home, and it was the new thing that now is so commonplace. It's ridiculous. We got all sorts of other channels, and like the ones that always stick out to me, Inspector Gadget and Chicken Run. Those are the two movies that always that always played, and always just kind of and again it fit
one
into
of them is good.
Well, again, I'm not going to get into the Inspector Gadget of it all. I'm just saying they always kind of stuck out. I got a sordid history with Inspector Gadget.
I will never defend that movie, Dragon.
Dragon, I'm right on the same page with you. I have nostalgic ties to Inspector Gadget. The first.
I have nostalgic ties to Inspector Gadget being a huge disappointment.
And Tiki, you'd be surprised by the stories I have to tell about that.
I
would be in the Jimmy. I would be in the Jimmy McGill seat having to defend that movie, whether I want to or not. But
also, guys, I think. Go on, Dragon.
But the point is, like, I'm not going to. That's a story for another time.
If we
that's
ever a whole podcast. Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing. My point is,
intrigues me. I'll give you that.
Oh yeah, I got a whole. There's a whole therapy thing right there. So my point is, Chicken Run was the other kind of most notable movie. You have like other small ones like Rocky and Bullwinkle, which again other things. But Chicken Run again is like it had that familiarity about it. It's like, yeah, this looks like Wallace and Gromit, and it basically doing kind of a kid version of The Great Escape, and it was and again it just had that kind of that blockbuster from your home vibe to it. You're just kind of watching as it's coming on TV, and you're just kind of. Again, it's kind of hard to talk about. You kind of get sucked into it, just kind of how amazing, kind of otherworldly it looks, and kind of it feels like a localized adventure. That's kind of the best way I can put it, because you have like it's a very stationary set, and we have like we're at the chicken farm. We have like the pie sequence has always stuck out to me, and it showed me that again Aardman was capable of kind of stuff that was just unlike anything else you'd see in animation. I'm not including computer animation, but again, it was different than that. But it was kind of in the suggested vein of computer animation, which I was familiar with from a very early age.
And it's so smooth that you wouldn't even guess it's like stop motion. It's amazing, isn't it?
It was, I guess, the last broad statement I have is it was just kind of this. It was this great in between traditional animation and computer animation, and it was just it was like it's in reality. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it almost in your mind's eye. But the stories were still compelling. The humor was really on point, and you empathized with this world and these characters because it looks so much taken from your own, but in a story you could never tell in traditional filmmaking with these characters and with these circumstances. So Aardman's always been impressive, and of course the films they've done later, such as flushed away, but very notably Arthur Christmas. Arthur Christmas was, of course, them kind of another slam dunk for those guys. And now getting back to basics with the Shaun the Sheep movie and the whole Aardman. Just you can't never say enough nice things about Aardman animation.
Also, right. I think it's fun to mention that John Dilworth got his inspiration for Le Quack as well as basically all the other chickens and ducks off his show, from Feathers McGraw, the penguin, and. In the wrong trousers.
Oh yeah, you don't have to tell me about that penguin. Oh my god, that makes all the sense in the world.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Dragon, that was a very nostalgic story, so I'm going to tell you a very weird story. So it's not really weird, it's just kind of like a really, really random factoid. So my first exposure to Aardman animation was the Home Alone 3 VHS.
Oh, wow. Oh, geez.
See, I told you mine was weirder than yours.
Tell us more. Tell us more, man. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay, so they have the 2 or 3 trailers, before the movie on the VHS tapes. And like one of them was like a home video release of like the 80s and 90s Wallace and Gromit shorts. And I remember they specifically like including the Academy Award winning The Wrong Trousers. Like they really hyped up The Wrong Trousers. And for a long time, I remember owning that VHS, and like, it's not a great movie, but Dragon, it's weird. It's like I could do the same therapy session with Home Alone 3, honestly. Like, I actually like Home Alone 3 better than the original Home Alone in some respects.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so you want to talk about weird opinions with bad movies? There you go.
Tiki, at some point, we got to talk about the weird amalgam of feelings that is Home Alone 3. We got to.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
Mr. Gadget, but you like Home Alone 3? Wow.
Yeah, I like Home Alone 3.
Because I was looking at Home Alone 3 like an eye chart.
If I sat down and watched it as an adult, I am sure that the original Home Alone stands up a lot more than 3. I'm sure.
It's like I'm just saying, as a kid, in the shower.
I'm just saying, as a kid, Home Alone 3 has like a really frantic, like high stakes pace to it. You know what I mean? Where the original Home Alone is more just kind of like a nice family friendly Christmas movie with.
Only at least like 2.
2 is I think 2 is probably my favorite.
I might be with Tiki. We hashed out.
Yeah, we've already hashed this out. Anyways,
we had a lot of fun
with Home Alone. Oh God, maybe Dragon. It'd be funny if we did Home Alone 3 before the original Home Alone.
Oh God, but Home Alone 3 again. It's like you gotta look at it like an eye chart sometimes. Like there's a Russian and a parakeet. It's like
Anyways, so my point being, I saw that bumper quite a bit.
Yeah. And
I always wanted to see the Wallace and Gromit shorts, but I never was able to find them. Like I was never able to find this box set, like anywhere, like at my rental store, at any of the shops, like Kmart or Walmart or anything. I just it just eluded me, and so I just kind of gave up on it. And then Chicken Run came out, and I agree with Sandy. I love Chicken Run. Chicken Run is, to be honest with you, I need to watch Curse of the Were-Rabbit a couple more times. I think Curse of the Were-Rabbit might be even better than Chicken Run.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Just watching it the first time. But I love Chicken Run, though. Chicken Run will always be my nostalgia favorite with Aardman. So then Curse of the Were-Rabbit came out, and I actually have a kind of bullshit reason for not seeing it. And that's so Sandy mentioned the British humor, and it's weird. Like my taste when it comes to comedy, like I really, really love the absurdist British humor. Like Monty Python is a perfect example of that. Like I love absurdist British humor. Some of my favorite type of humor. One of my least favorite types of humor is like the super dry, like British Office style humor, where it's just like oh, the joke is in the subtlety of it. And I don't know, like to me, it's like when you're so dry that you can't even crack a smile. It's like, I don't know, like, talking about another
You're more for the over-the-top British.
What?
You're more for the over-the-top British humor then.
Right. And to be honest with you, I kind of thought Wallace and Gromit was leaning more towards the, the dry British humor. And I gotta say, actually watching the movie, I'm not sure about the shorts. I still need to catch myself up on the shorts. I really need to. But watching the movie, I think Wallace and Gromit, in terms of British humor, kind of is like a beautiful sort of like melding in the middle between absurdist British humor and dry British humor. I think it's a perfect blend of the two.
Yes.
Tiki, I'm just gonna chip in a little bit here. I am totally right there with you. And if you like the movie, it sounds like you loved it, then you are going to love the shorts and the specials, because basically what the movie is it's a special, except it's it's a movie, it's a feature. It's amazing, and I'm right there with you. I love the just the what was the word? It wasn't the absurd British humor. It's just the Wallace and Gromit British humor, where it's all animated and it's exaggerated and everything. Just it's very, very appealing.
You know what's? Oh yeah, go on.
An interesting bit of trivia though. It's the most recent DreamWorks movie. It came out over 10 years ago, and it's the most recent DreamWorks movie to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature.
That is kind of funny when you think about it.
The critics love this thing, by the way. Man,
man,
7 or something %. It was really high up there.
You know, I kind of warmed up to Big Hero 6, but I still think How to Train Your Dragons 2 got robbed that year.
Were they snubbed with the nomination, or were they?
No, Lego Movie that year was snubbed with
right. Yeah.
But
anyway,
oh,
yes.
But technically, and it's funny, DreamWorks just distributed. They technically didn't even make this, so
yeah, right.
But and here's the. I'm going.
I'm just saying, but my point still stands. This is the most recent DreamWorks movie to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. I mean,
is Shrek the only one?
Well, Shrek won, but that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, is Shrek the only DreamWorks movie to have won Best Animated Feature?
Yeah, I believe it has. I mean, like Happy Feet won. I think
I can't believe Happy Feet won.
Well, the other basically the Pixar competition that year was Cars, so.
Yeah, I'd vote Cars over Happy Feet.
The only reason Shrek won was, Shrek won just because it was different. It didn't
we all know Monsters Inc. should have won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, do you remember Jimmy and Goddard politely applauding at the Oscars because they knew they weren't going to win?
What about Mike and Sully?
Yeah,
they're looking at each other like, yeah, should we clap? And Mike's like, Mike's cutting his eye at Shrek and Donkey.
Oh God!
And Sully's just looking off like, yeah, he's trying to smile. Can't really though.
Yeah, it was.
All right, so long story short, with my experience with Aardman, folks, I need to do my homework because like watching Curse of the Were-Rabbit just tonight, like I fell in love with this movie. Like this is like a new favorite animated movie of mine. I mean, just the writing is so on point. As Sandy keeps saying, the visuals are incredible. It's just so charming, so hands-on.
The timing is great, and the animation is so exaggerated to the perfect extent.
Mm-hmm.
Tiki, something impressive to highlight with all of these, including Were-Rabbit, but also the other three. I'm going to assume I haven't seen. I still haven't seen Loaf and Death. I hear it's good. I've seen like a few snippets of it. I want to watch it. So it's kind of sometimes it's not there, but I think it might be on Amazon. I got to look into it. The point is, each of them, they never really repeat themselves. They all have like a different kind of like they're informed by like kind of almost like a sect of film in a way. Like they all feel very distinctly different in their style. And it's
like this one, like this one is inspired by horror.
Yeah, and one of them is very Hitchcockian. One's very kind of like it's kind of the story of a kind of the thief. It's kind of the classic kind of like kind of jewel thief story. And then of course you have the first one just kind of feels like kind of like a very kind of humble kind of 60s kind of exploration film almost.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one is like universal horror.
Yes. So again, they're all very, very distinct, very, very standout. All again, highly recommend not only to our friend Tiki here, but everyone out there. Check them out.
Yeah, so like I said, I need to go back and do my homework. I need to see Pirates. I need to see Shaun the Sheep.
That's a good one too. Pirates, yeah.
Yeah. I really want to see Pirates.
They also did Arthur Christmas.
Well, of course,
I've seen Arthur Christmas. Yeah.
What about Flushed Away? That's an underrated one. I'll get into it.
I'm not a fan of the premise of Flushed Away.
That's fair.
That's actually the first feature Aardman movie I watched.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about like the main premise of the movie is getting flushed down a toilet. It's like, yeah, that's not very appealing to me. I mean, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a good movie. It's just like, yeah, there's a little bit of a barrier there.
It's okay. It's an okay movie.
We do have a vaguely Crunk-like character in it.
It's definitely not Aardman's best work.
Uh-huh. All right, so Dragon, why don't you regale us?
It's probably all DreamWorks, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. We've kind of been going a little bit too long, Dragon. So if you can condense it as much as you can, give us the backstory on all this.
All right. Let me see. Okay, so basically this Were-Rabbit and also just in general the Aardman deal. But I'm focus on Were Rabbit here. This was DreamWorks' way of competing with Nightmare Before Christmas, and just in general Disney.
Which honestly, that comparison makes a lot of sense, which I'm sure we'll get into as we talk about this. But go ahead.
The reason DreamWorks was targeting Aardman was basically to compete with Disney's kind of their stop motion field, basically kind of the touchstone label, Nightmare and probably James and John Peach in development. So they struck a deal with Aardman. Very impressed with the shorts. Chicken Run essentially was a test for a feature-length film. Basically, that was kind of Aardman's way of kind of testing. They probably wanted to do Wallace and Gromit first, but they wanted to kind of test it with like a different film. And Jeffrey Katzenberg asked, "Okay, well, guys, what do you?" Spielberg was in the room too. It's really funny. Like, what do you guys got? And then they pitch The Great Escape with chickens, and Spielberg loves The Great Escape, so it was kind of a match made in heaven for for them. That's when Spielberg took a more.
And then Pixar did The Great Escape of toys.
Yes, and of course, it's back in the formation of DreamWorks. That's when Spielberg was more kind of involved with things, and as time went on, he just kind of like, the Katzenberg's got it on their hand. And of course, we see how that sometimes turns out. Anyway, the end game has always been doing a Wallace and Gromit film. So they finally are able to do a Wallace and Gromit film, and they're kind of pitched their favorite their pitch line, their elevator pitches. It's a vegetarian horror film. And a few little notes here. Wendolyn Wallace. There were a few alterations. Like initially, Wendolyn from another show. I want to say from Close Shave, the girl, the love interest from Close Shave. She was going to be in the film with Wallace as as gardeners at the kind of the Toddington Hall estate. There were a few different roles, basically a few trims just to kind of make it like you can make this your first Wallace and Gromit experience. There were battles with DreamWorks, which was not uncommon, but especially Wallace and Gromit. Chicken Run, again, that was just kind of, again, Great Escape. Everyone kind of knows Great Escape, so it was kind of less, and it was just more DreamWorks and off for that one. But let's not talk too much about Chicken Run. The point is, there were battles with DreamWorks on this film to tone down the British charm, because again, while DreamWorks distributed this, they basically had kind of the final say on things, and you basically have to run everything by DreamWorks. So I think there were other changes. There were a lot of questions because you got to remember it's unconventional kind of a film for American animation in some respects. They would kind of question like the lead characters. They don't exactly look kind of like your Prince Charming and your Snow Whites. They're British. They got the big teeth. They're silly. They're fun. Basically it's kind of different than what was in animation, especially in the ever growing field. So with this film, kind of like Incredibles, because again, this film was being made as Incredibles was being made. In an interesting way, they were both Incredibles was testing new grounds in computer animation. This film was testing new ground in stop motion. Mainly like fur. I mean, like giant armatures for giant rabbits. Again, that was a really tough one to stretch. Of course, the giant sets, the fact that you'd be doing yet another full length one with established characters. The whole town. You have to, again, with very minimal CG. By the way, very minimal CG was only used just kind of for the effects when need be. Only when it would take an excess amount of
like explosions and stuff like that.
It was made for $30 million, which is I want to say compared to what it did phenomenally in the box office. It did way more than its budget, so it did fantastic for that amount of money.
I'd say $30 million is pretty decent.
Yeah, it made like 100. I want to say it made 190 something million with a $30 million budget. That's great. And again,
especially now cost about 190 million to make.
Yeah. So never underestimate the value of stop motion, folks, when done right. Now, unfortunately, as basically it was a big critical and financial success.
Oh, I remember the critics were going nuts for this movie when it came out.
Yeah, I remember going to the theater to see this with my father. We got out of it. We had we had a grand old time with it. He was like, "Oh man, it was so funny. It was so well animated. It was a great old thing." A little bit of King Kong flourish with my father. Really appreciated it. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, so now unfortunately, while all the glitz and glamour is there was a dark punchline to this. There was a fire at the warehouse, at the Aardman warehouse.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
After the film was being promoted, and essentially Aardman, they had a big old warehouse where they housed like all the models and the sets and everything, and basically lost just about everything but the Were Rabbit movie models. So basically everything from this movie they took it on tour when they were doing like press junkets and stuff. So basically, you have like some main models like Wallace, Gromit.
Like it does that with their movies.
Exactly. So, but I'm not saying everything was destroyed, but there was very little kind of salvage. So this definitely helped motivate Aardman to move forward with CG to test with the CG animation with their following film, Flushed Away, because a lot of their past inventory, and also I can't verify this, but man, they might have housed their Oscars in there too. So I mean, like all the awards for the shorts, and everything, all the awards.
Dragon, something similar I think happened with Thomas and the Magic Railroad, where all the models they had when they shipped them back from Canada, where they filmed a lot of the film of the movie. I think they were lost at sea or something.
Oh God, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Jeez. Oh my God. Anyway, so eventually, they make Flushed Away, and now again, this is the DreamWorks. They had a deal, and they were going to do a fourth movie. Now, after Flushed Away lost DreamWorks money. It was I want to say basically they didn't make their money back, and they were down by $20 million. So Flushed Away was definitely not what DreamWorks was looking for. Unfortunately, they didn't really kind of honor their arrangement, so they kind of basically DreamWorks. They parted ways. For one, they were kind of tired of like having to run everything through DreamWorks, and DreamWorks they were really not inclined to continue on with them. And again, part of me just wants to kind of blame Katzenberg for that, but I can't.
DreamWorks. I feel like that was a really unwise decision on DreamWorks' part.
I think it wasn't really amicable, but it was a mutual decision because it's like it wasn't amicable, but it was mutual because like they're basically both tired of working with each other, like I said, the middle management with DreamWorks, and basically DreamWorks not holding up their end of the bargain. Aardman never completed their contract with DreamWorks.
Yes, and here's the notable thing about that. So the fourth film they were going to make, DreamWorks took ownership of the idea and they ran with it. Aardman, they had the rights to kind of develop, and basically those rights were DreamWorks for the Croods.
Oh, okay.
That was Aardman's. So basically,
I still need to watch that too.
What Aardman Early Man now? That's pretty much that's right along the same veins.
Yes.
And honestly, I'd look more interested in Early Man than the Croods.
yeah, me too. The Croods never did anything for me. I don't know why people like him so much. It's just a bunch of.
I've never even seen the Croods, but I will say from what I've seen of both, I definitely look more interested in the Early Man.
I watched the Croods some time ago, and it's I think it's just ugly. It's ugly feeling.
Sure. So the point is,
the Maker's Cottage on your dragon.
So the point is, DreamWorks, they didn't keep faith in Aardman. Of course, bear in mind like previous, great successes, and then a disappointment with Flush, which isn't a bad movie, but it could have been. It wasn't the best. It wasn't Aardman's A material, but again, it was them. It looked great. It did look great because they basically captured the stop motion vibe in animation. So it was a flawless kind of transition in that respect. So either way, DreamWorks kind of didn't have faith, but in the end, Aardman, they did very well for themselves, and they were able to kind of at this point in their career, they were able to kind of forge their own, partnerships with other animation companies, and kind of I don't know if they formed their own quite yet, because I honestly am just kind of trying to think. Because I remember they had wasn't Arthur Christmas released through Sony?
Yeah, it's like the Sony Pictures Animation actually did the animation for that, and I believe.
Yeah. That's the thing. I don't know exactly if they're like completely tied to Sony or if they have like their own studio. This one with Pirates, because Pirates again look just very absolutely Aardman like. But the point is like Aardman's doing very well for themselves now, and they're still developing, as we've said. Early Man, of course, being kind of the most recent in development, and of course Shaun the Sheep as well before that, which got a lot of praise and was again a movie with the least dialogue ever, short of The Artist. And that's the whole ball of wax. So Were Rabbit, good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So folks, we're going to venture into somewhat unexplored territory with this podcast, which is we're going to go structureless. Oh no!
Well, what's the plot, Tiki? What's the plot?
Okay, so the plot is that Wallace and Gromit, beloved pest exterminators, leaders of the
Antipesto.
Antipesto. They get wrapped up in a big conspiracy and scheme involving a bunch of rabbits based on the power of the full moon and a bunch of crazy science Wallace himself actually turns into a were-rabbit in Dragon. I don't know. You can probably describe the plot better than I can.
All right, fine. Wallace and Pest Control Service Antipesto to deal with rabbits eating vegetables around the town's prized giant veg contest. They love their vegetables. They really do. Problem: there are too many bunnies with the rabbit rehabilitation. There are too many bunnies, which leads to Wallace's rabbit rehabilitation idea via the mind manipulation omatic, which basically puts on a hat. He tries basically kind of imparting like, "Hey, veg bad, don't eat the vegetables, guys." He tries to mind meld with one of the rabbits, which kind of using lunar rays, which kind of goes horribly wrong in traditional kind of universal horror fashion, leads to an accident. Then suddenly, unrelated, of course. There were were-rabbit sightings of the rabbit to end all rabbits, kind of the Jaws of rabbits, if you will. Being, which leads to Wallace and Gromit, of course, Antipesto, the rabbit catching aficionados, kind of the Quince of the London town, are hired by Lady Toddington to pull a humane version of Jaws on the beast. Catch the beast. Compared to the philanderer Victor Quartermain and Philip, kind of the opposites of Wallace and Gromit, who want to just kill the beast, shoot the bunny. We learn that the test subject bunny Hutch, of course, we learn that Hutch, sorry, is oh yes, we learned that Hutch actually is a red herring. The initial test subject bunny was a red herring, and Wallace is actually the beast.
Can I just say that, like, I am surprised I never got that spoiled for me, but that was like a really, really surprising plot revelation.
Yeah. So we learned that Wallace is actually the beast, and it's up to Gromit to save the monster from Victor, which leads to an exciting climax at Toddington Hall, heartwarming moments, drama, with a happy cheese-fueled ending, and that's the end. That's the plot. That's the plot in a nutshell.
All right, boys. So,
got mine ready and muted.
Say what now?
I'm sorry?
That I got my video ready and muted.
What video?
For a rabbit.
What now?
Never mind.
I'm so confused.
Never mind.
No one said anything to me about videos.
So yes, free flow conversation.
I know, right?
Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
You guys said it was commentary.
No, we're not.
I didn't say it was a commentary.
You guys told me it was a commentary.
Where did you get Tiki? Tiki's gonna feel this one.
Okay, I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. No, we were going over this before the show. It was, it was a free-form conversation, so I'm very sorry, but no, it's not a commentary, so...
Thankfully, you're over-prepared, though.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, so
guys, how did we feel about the movie?
Can we talk about the comparison to Nightmare Before Christmas for a minute? Because I feel like there's a lot to draw from there.
You guys feel comfortable with that? By all means.
Yeah, I absolutely feel the nightmare vibe with this. In the romance, in the atmosphere, in the tone, especially I think in the way that this movie mixes absurd humor with like dark and creepy atmosphere and some like very intense dramatic moments.
I'll say to you, I never thought of it that way, but I think it's an interesting point you're making.
I think one of the really good things with this movie is that for every really dramatic moment, like one of the things that really stuck out to me, just kind of going with it, is the moment where we think that Wallace is shot for the first time. Gromit's, where Gromit's, we have the two were-rabbits, the Gromit costume were-rabbit and the Wallace were-rabbit, and so we think that Wallace got shot, and then we cut back to all the townspeople, and the one priest is like, "Let us share a moment of your sorrow."
Oh, the vicar is so funny.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying, though? It's like we get a moment of like, oh my God, Wallace might be dead. This is a really dramatic, heavy thing. And then, hooray, he's dead, yay! So I feel like the film is just really, really depth at that kind of balancing act between, like, there are some really heavy moments in this, but it never lasts long enough to really, really bring the mood down.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm excited we're talking about. If you don't mind jumping around a little, I mean, one of the big
No, that's
highlights.
honestly kind of the reason I was a little bit trepidatious about jumping right into the conversation. Let's just jump around as, just free flow.
Let's just talk about probably one of the best one of the best moments in the movie. Then I mean, the Wallace's kind of quote unquote death scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that again, being being familiar with Wallace and Gromit again through the shorts, again, it's like it's enjoyment. Again, it's a different.
Was I the only one that thought that they were gonna have to like put the Wallace rabbit's brain into Wallace's body?
I didn't think of that, but I think that's a really
that was totally what I thought they were gonna go for, and I was like, oh man, this is bold because technically the actual Wallace is still dead, but no, it's like I mean, I don't know, maybe. Dragon, to me, like, the implied death didn't exactly hit me as much as it did you, just because it's such a cliche with animated films now.
Yeah, but here's the thing about it. It's just purely how it's played, even though, again, it's...
you're absolutely right. How it's played is very nice. I'm just saying, like, it's like, I didn't think for a second he was actually dead.
Yeah, that's not the point. The point is just just to kind of like take it in. It's like, and to see Gromit. Again, this is a beautiful character, and John Lasseter loves Gromit. By the way, I just want to put that out there. He loves Gromit. There was a wonderful documentary on Netflix.
Not love Gromit.
Yeah, everyone loves Gromit. There's a wonderful little like hour-long documentary on about Aardman on Netflix. They cover all the films. It's really nice. And yeah, I mean, they have this character who can say so much without a word of dialogue, and it's acting. Again, this guy's a testament to kind of the marvels of animation, and seeing Gromit just kind of so emotionally broken, the death of his master. And again, Gromit's had us already with the marrow. I mean, the marrow thing of it all in itself is just it's selling you on the absurdity of caring so much about about a vegetable.
I got to say, the marrow thing was like by far the thing I was most invested in on an emotional level in the whole movie.
And again, they have you there, but then they pull this thing with Wallace, and again they work in that Wallace and Gromit theme in such a sad context, and it's just it's so beautiful. You haven't really seen these guys taken to that place before. It's usually like, oh boy, like you're on the edge of your seat in these adventures, but you never really get to kind of the what if. And it's like, oh man, what if the worst happened? You never think about it because you're caught up in like it's like that great moment where in the big climax where he's going around there kind of King Kong style, like high five, yeah, and then it goes crashing down there, and it's like, yeah, you're just having such fun. You don't really consider the consequences of this sometimes.
Right.
So
I thought they were going to do the implied death like King Kong style. Like, I had a very, very sneaking feeling there was going to be an implied death, but they kind of subverted it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Like, do you think how crazy would it have been if they went the extra mile and actually put the rabbit Wallace's brain into Wallace's body?
There's only one reason I would have doubted that, Tiki. The only reason I guess I didn't think about this because then it would have had to kill the rabbit.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
That's the only reason. I think they would have done that if they.
Actually, you wouldn't have to kill the rabbit. Like, what you could do is just have the rabbit just go back to being a normal rabbit.
Yeah, I mean, but also you have to worry about like all the stuff. Like, okay, we have to reconstruct the helmet, the brain, and all the whole get them there in time. It's kind of like they kind of want the not. They didn't go the super obvious kind of Pokemon 2000 rap, but it was like bridges on that. Because the rabbits were crying. I was expecting the Pokemon 2000 thing. That was what I was expecting. I was expecting like the tears to bring them back, but no, it was kind of something.
It was the original Pokemon movie, not 2000.
Oh, did I say? I'm sorry, I meant the original. What was the original? What did we call the original?
Just Pokemon, the first movie.
Oh yeah, that's why I kept thinking I like the title that lazy. But anyway, yes, but that's what I was thinking of the tier thing. Regardless, that's where I thought I was gonna get.
Yeah, I was thinking for a second, like, wait a minute, does Pokemon 2000 have an implied death? Like, well, actually, does Misty get an implied death in Pokemon 2000?
Yeah, why does Ash turn the stone anyway? Anyway,
I don't know. Who can say?
Yeah, I guess there was. Oh yeah, the two Mews were the two Mews. I'm sorry, we're getting off track. I don't want to. Anyways, back to this.
Psychic powered Pokemon blasting energy rays, and then he's suddenly a rock. Yeah.
The point is, I love that we brought him back using the cheese. You know, we kind of use the smell and salt cheese thing. That's how you bring Wallace back. You bring him back with cheese.
You know, you're right. Like, as cool as it would have been to do my morbid, like, mad scientist take on bringing him back, like, yeah, that's a classic way to bring him back.
Yeah. Kind of you were thinking more of kind of the Invisible Man resurrection, that sort of thing. Where, you know,
I guess so. Yeah. Where it's like it is Wallace, like it's technically him, but not really. I don't know. Like that would have been a really interesting way to go with it from a character point.
Yeah, I think a little too high concept for kind of the all ages audience. You know, just
I get
the kids would have picked up. I'm sorry, guys. We don't mean to keep doing it. Guys, what do you think of this?
I just been listening to you guys. I mean, it's all very interesting. I mean, I love Wallace and Gromit, and I think it's amazing that they took these characters. You know, they took these kinds of different story elements and combined them to make an actually really great feature film. It's very showed back in the day just how much they're capable of.
I totally agree.
I mean, you know, you had Chicken Run, but I mean, those were characters they made specifically for the movie, and we never ever see them again.
Yeah.
And with Wallace and Gromit, these are characters that have already been set up. These are characters that we've already, gotten familiar with over the course of over a decade. Because in the first Wallace and Gromit cartoon animation was back in 1990, so well over like 15 years. We've had with these characters, and it's so nice to see them come together in such a beautifully animated and told story like this.
Let me say this about Wallace and Gromit. This is the piggyback off Sandy's kind of praise of these guys. This movie as great as this movie is, it kind of rubs it in with the whole kind of the path Aardman has gone on. Is that it's a shame that Wallace and Gromit haven't gotten more movies. It really is, because if you see what they've done here, and again they've been waiting for the opportunity to do a Wallace and Gromit movie, because government are doing in feature length. That's not an easy task, but still, the fact you just kind of have like kind of a fun random story idea, and they turn into this great film. Imagine what other ideas they could have brought to fruition with basically taking like our small screen idea, which we're perfectly content with, and we're still we still have been content with for years, and just kind of imagine what it would have been like, kind of another grand adventure like this. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to get another one like that. And I mean, I don't mean to bring down the room with that, but it's such kind of a. I felt these characters, they could have been utilized so much more in a way. I think had they kind of had the opportunity to shine more here, we could have seen them kind of become even more iconic than they are in other places. But that also kind of shows kind of the universal kind of global appeal of these guys in a way. So
Or things have gone better with DreamWorks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they could have gotten more time in the limelight had things kind of had gone better and just been distributed through DreamWorks, and who knows. And I think it would have been. It's a world of what ifs.
I blame them greenlighting Flushed Away, because Flushed Away is just, I'm sorry, like, as decent as the movie might be, it's a terrible premise.
I wonder if they were just gun shy about kind of doing Wallace and Gromit doing that in CG, and worrying about if these characters did not look good in bringing the stop motion to CG look.
Also, I can see Aardman wanting to stretch their legs and not being associated just with Wallace and Gromit too, which is very.
That's a thing.
And I personally, I don't know how
them on the map, so it's like it's understandable that even if they just do one Wallace and Gromit, it's like, hey, we did one Wallace and Gromit film, that's fine. We can focus on our other properties as well.
Exactly.
Which is fair. And that's go on, Sandy.
I really don't know how badly I'd want to see another Wallace and Gromit film like this without Peter Sallis, because of course he's no longer with us.
Exactly. So yeah, it's.
And of course they do have the new voice actor. I forgot what his name is. But
they have a new voice actor.
Oh yeah, they've had him for a while.
Oh, that doesn't feel right.
It doesn't. I mean, he's not horrible, of course, but for someone who's not as familiar with Wallace and Gromit as we are, they probably wouldn't be able to tell. But I think it'd be pretty obvious, for fans like us. I think they should have done another Wallace and Gromit film before Mr. Sallis died. That would have been
Not to
very
sound
nice.
ca-
A nice
not to
send
sound-
off.
Yeah, but not to sound callous or anything, it's totally within Aardman's power to replace him.
Yeah, of course.
Not sure.
I mean, no matter how much it pains anyone, it's like imagine the pressure of the new actor being able to take up the mantle that this actor's been going on for over almost 30 years. Well, 20
No
years.
matter
You
how
do have
much
to-
this new actor doesn't match the original role, he will never be as bad as Wallace Shawn as Eustace.
Come on, he wasn't horrible. Come on, he wasn't that bad.
No, look, I love Wallace Shawn, okay, but like he sounded nothing like the original Eustace.
Technically,
Okay,
technically there were two Eustaces.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying. Wallace Shawn didn't sound like either of them remotely. He sounded like Wallace Shawn. Like he
All right.
sounds like in every single other one of his
Okay,
movies.
let's get
Okay,
back on
okay.
point.
Well, Tiki. Okay, John knew he didn't sound anything like Lionel Wilson or any of the other fellas that or the other guy that voiced Eustace. But I mean, that's what they were going for. They wanted to. Take
I'm
a
just
new
joking
approach on
around,
this.
Sandy.
Well, let me take the up. I'm sorry, Sandy. Continue.
As far as Wallace and Gromit goes, as of recent, they, the last I guess short they did was just a few years ago. So it's not like we've completely been deprived of Wallace and Gromit altogether.
To be honest with you, I feel like these characters would work better in short format than they do in... I mean, as good as this movie is, I could see the shorts working even better just because of the nature of these characters.
Yeah, I like the specials are my favorite. I mean, I love the movies, but the specials, they just work so well.
It's like their comedy is better suited for that fast.
That's what I'm saying. Like, especially with with Gromit being the mute character and everything like that. I mean, that's not to say you can't do a feature film with a mute character. I mean, look at Shaun the Sheep. But
And again, Gromit's the kind of the. I forget. Do you guys know how early Shaun the Sheep was? Was that before Wallace and Gromit or after?
Oh no, that was like during Wallace and Gromit. Like he came in. Let's see. Don't tell
wasn't
me.
he originally a character in Wallace and Gromit?
He was.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. Yes. In Close Shave. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
1990
Forgetting that.
That was 1995, which is 5 years after Grand Day Out came out.
Well, my point is, they kind of built the foundation with Gromit as the silent character, which then when they have like an opportunity with another one. So yeah, Gromit came first, and that's what I was kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But speaking of character, let's kind of make the rounds with some of our characters here. Let's kind of thought any standouts or anything. Of course, we like the Vicar. Of course, the Vicar is very funny. The priest, though.
And,
Oh yeah.
Victor's
I
Played
think
by the
this guy's
wonderful-
a great villain.
Played by the wonderful Ralph. Played by the wonderful Ray Fiennes.
You just get the funniest expressions out of this guy, and of course he has the big, huge toupee on. So
This guy is basically British Gaston.
Yes,
yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
but he's much more transparent and
Yeah,
hilarious in
And
places.
Gaston wasn't exactly like totally like non-transparent himself, but
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
subtle by any stretch, but I love this. I love it. Victor's very.
Gaston had the muscle he could hide behind. This guy.
well, okay, here's the thing with Gaston is that Gaston, for like as much of a jerk as he is, like he actually deserves some of the gloating he gets, whereas Quartermain is just pathetic. Like Quartermain is all of the ego of Gaston without any of like the heroics to back it up.
One of my favorite kind of just subtle gags is like he cuts Lady Toddington's own roses to give to her, and like when he sees Wallace up there, and like kind of the Eden kind of little thing at the very top, he's like throws them down, then Philip just kind of stomps him. Just the fact he cut her own roses and then just to give them to her, which is just such an ingenuous gesture. And then and then the dog's stepping on the roses that just add insult to him, like, come on.
And I actually think this guy is genuinely threatening, especially in the third act.
Of course, the cut down tree sequence, the big transformation scene.
Uh-huh.
And of course, guys, who could forget? What you see is what you get.
Then of course Squid gets sucked up like to the back. He gets taken out with the pansy spray. But Ray Fiennes just had such a great. I mean, this guy is such a good actor. Of course, Schindler's List and Red Dragon. Oh my god, I love that Red Dragon so much. He's so good in that.
Of course, Voldemort.
Yeah, sure. If I want to go with the others, yes, it was. But this guy. And of
It's
course,
funny because
Alfred.
Voldemort like has a lot of silly moments in Deathly Hallows Part 2, like intentionally or unintentionally. like the Malfoy hug probably being the most famous. And I feel like this guy is like all of the Ralph Fiennes like silly Voldemort like wrapped up into one performance.
And of course, Alfred and Lego Batman is a recent example. This actor is the gift that keeps on giving in terms of performance. Lady Toddington, Helena Bonham Carter. I can never get her name.
It's
Helena Bonham Carter. Yeah.
Carter.
What?
Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter. Okay.
I used to be a Tim Burton fanboy, Dragon. I know how to pronounce her name.
All right. She's kind of wonderfully over the top, you know. She's got this ridiculous kind of looking design, you know, with this giant hair coming out the side. And when she's in the carrot costume, it's hilarious.
And I love how they did an interview with her for the movie, and she was going on about how she was saying she was such a big fan of Wallace and Gromit, and it's so cool, you know, you have instances like this where, you know, you're a fan, and then you get to play, you know, a character in the same universe that you're this huge fan of. It's really, really interesting, and I think she fits the part really well, just the voice and the whole character.
To be honest with you guys, I didn't even know it was her until like I saw the credits. Like, and usually when Helena Bonham Carter is in a movie, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm Helena Bonham Carter.
And apparently, Tati is some kind of British slang.
Another Harry Potter actress, by the way.
I want to guess that it's like means like kind of tart or something. You know, it means kind of like, you know, like you're. Well, again,
but apparently she like insisted being called that. Apparently,
you know, Victor keeps calling her, you know, like my filly. So I mean, they're not shying away from anything.
And
they definitely have a lot of British slang and even some subtle adult humor in this.
And I like that we can do that. We can get away with that.
She was also in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory that year as Mrs. Bucket.
Like speaking of the, I noticed several suspiciously placed melons.
Of course, that is very judiciously placed melons. Yes.
Yes. And like I say, it was arson. Someone arson around.
I'll tell you, I will say this. Like I have no cons for this film except for there's one lazy gag, which I'm saying Aardman is like they have such a great kind of grasp on humor and timing and visual gags and everything. There's like one gag in this movie that just felt very easy. Just felt that's a cheap gag for Aardman. It's like, come on, they can do better than that. So one gag, just the beware the full moon. Like, come on, really? That's
yeah.
That's like the one. That's the only. That's the closest thing to a negative thing I have against this movie. It's like,
that's the one. Dragon, that's the one gag that stuck with me all of these years. I think just because it's such a cheap gag. It's just
it's just looking at it. It's like, you know what? I mean, this doesn't kill a movie, but
parsing around.
You've got to have something like that in there for, you know, the kids. Because I remember watching this in school. They were playing this in the library at school, and they had all the classes come down to watch Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And I remember everyone just cracking up at that.
Like I said, speaking of arson around,
it's cheap, but it's cheap, but it still makes me laugh.
It's not offensive. I mean, it's just like it's not overly gratuitous. It doesn't hang on it too long. It's just like there and it's gone. It's like never mentioned again.
Here's a funny gag: the stripper gag. Remember when they have David Rose's the stripper, you know, the old music cue. And it's kind of great how musical we lump it in with. Let's just stop at the music in general. So Julian Knott does an excellent score for this film. It encompasses the Wallace and Gromit theme, but also these variations.
It's a great mix of, like, you know, working in the theme in a lot of different ways, and also, like, you know, the classic, like, universal horror style tropes.
Yeah, and of course we have a lot of it. You have triumphant adventure filled in places like the beginning, like, you know, when the anti-pesto alarm goes off, and they're you know, it's like that feels. Okay,
this is going to sound like a weird comparison, but you know what the setting of this movie kind of vaguely reminded me of?
Transylvania, London.
No, E.T.
Really?
Not so much, and like obviously it's not like an American suburb, but I guess in the scale of the setting. Because this movie, much like how E.T. makes it feel like this epic adventure with, you know, as we've always said with E.T., you know, they basically turn like a few blocks of suburbs and some woods into this epic adventure. And I feel like they do a similar thing here, where it's like the setting is like, you know, it's not a very expansive setting, you know what I mean? Like, you've got the forest, you've got the town, you've got the, the manor or whatever whatever the name is.
Tottingham Hall.
Yeah, you got Tottingham Hall, right. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? Like, it feels very intimate, much like much like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just like the big bait they have for like the giant kind of with the wire system and everything for the giant female were-rabbit.
That's the thing I really remember them hyping up in the marketing, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny gag, and it's well timed, like the way we cut between Gromit. And again, I love just the expression Gromit said, "Okay, fine." He works up kind of the like, "Come on, Gromit, put some effort into it."
Yeah, what is it when Wallace said like afterwards, like, "Oh, doesn't."
You're a knockout.
I was like, "Oh, cheeky."
Yeah, he says cheeky. Yeah. Oh man. And then I was like really invested in the movie at that point because I was like, Wallace, no, pay attention. You have to drive, Wallace. You have to drive.
Of course, just Gromit just making the same motions. And
right.
He's like, yeah. I was like, fine, if I have to make this rabbit sexy, I'll have to.
Hey, let's.
I think that's a mark of a great movie is when you get so invested that you're literally, oh no, you know.
Let's bridge from that because that sequence has a great.
Wait, hold on. I have one more thing to bring up about that sequence.
Yeah.
So you know the song that comes on over the radio.
Well, I mean, I know the score of the
Bright Eyes.
Oh.
Know that? Ring a bell?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually from the animated Watership Down movie.
Huh.
Rabbits.
Yeah, which is a famous movie about rabbits basically killing each other. It's an Art Garfunkel song. It's called Bright Eyes.
They love their subtle gags.
Actually, I do have something else I noticed about that scene too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, there's actually a place called A Close Shave, and like one of the shops was in there called A Close.
Oh, nice.
and then there's this like vegetable shop I believe called Harvey's.
Yes.
And it says
you know Harvey the Invisible Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
Supposedly Feathers McGraw has a cameo in this movie, which would make total sense because he's such a popular Wallace and Gromit villain. But I couldn't find him. Did you guys catch him?
I never looked for him, so I don't.
Well, what's his name?
Feathers McGraw. He's the penguin from The Wrong Trousers. He might have been disguised as like a statue or something.
He could have been like one of the props at one of the things you can win at the fair.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, so let's bridge a little bit from that sequence. Has a great kind of juxtaposition with Harvey's, speaking of which, where we enter kind of the great kind of that horror setting. We have these great kind of reveals, and we have this. It's such a well structured plot in terms of our reveals. While we can go from such a fun sequence to kind of like a creepy, ominous kind of vibe, and of course Wallace has left frame, and then the monster appears, and we're doing just all the old horror film touches all throughout this film. I mean, go from the London setting to again the building reveal. How again we have the mystery interlaid, and of course we build ultimately to that transformation reveal. It's all
not to mention
old school.
Sorry, and not to mention the religious aspects of it.
Yeah, so it's an inventive PG take on the old school werewolf kind of mythology, as well as other stories, but yeah, mainly werewolf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's this great kind of we have this who is it? This not exactly who done it, but more like kind of who is it mystery with Hutch as the red herring, which you guys.
It's not more of a who done it; it's more like a who ate it.
Well, yeah, it's of course. Oh, remember that great again. I love that we do capture the vegetarian horror movie of it all, where literally Gromit he finds the corpses in bed of all the half-eaten vegetables. And again, think about that. Like Gromit, he enters, and then of course he sees, and then we hear the bell ringing for Toddington's. For Toddington's home, and again, it's like the alarm bell is quite literally sounding as like Gromit's just kind of freaking out. The ears are going nuts. Like, oh my god, Wallace is the monster.
Yeah. No, I mean talking to the vegetarian horror film of it all. I thought that like I said, like the thing that had me the most emotionally invested was the Gromit's giant marrow, and I was like, I was like on the edge of my seat the whole time about the were-rabbit eating that thing.
I love it.
And Gromit actually ended up mashing it himself.
Yep.
Well, that was more Hutch
It
than
was an accident, but still.
He made the sacrifice, though. He knew it was at risk. But again, there's that great moment where Gromit, he's smashed into the marrow and he's holding the remains of his baby, essentially. He's like, he's just... And I love that, he takes a moment, but then he's right back into the action. So
if he could talk, if he could talk, I'm sure he'd say, "Why?"
Or if we get the one line ever from Wallace and it's the James Earl Jones, no!
And can we just talk about? And one thing I really liked about the whole animation of Gromit was like when he was trapped in the cage and he was and going after Wallace, like the subtle crying he was doing. It's like it's like you really felt like he was actually crying. It's like, oh, poor Gromit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like when the stakes in this movie get ramped up, you feel them get ramped up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you could genuinely feel Gromit's sadness.
Mm-hmm. And the science kind of for a change in this film is that we usually don't have a lot of the time. Is that Wallace is made aware of the conflict at least halfway through instead of towards the very end, like he usually is. He is. When he learns that, he learns, oh dear. When he learns that, oh God, I'm the monster. And there was a great moment of again, like we have some great emotional honesty in this film. Where Wallace is like, I don't want to be a rabbit.
That was a really a surprisingly heartfelt moment for me. I mean, it's so simple. Like, yeah, obviously he doesn't want to be a rabbit. None of us would want to be a rabbit, but it's just so it's played so earnestly. So one of the things stylistically that I loved in this movie, like all the way through, is the transitions.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of specific ones off the top of my head. It's not really coming to me, but the just the transitions in general. I remember there's one where let's see. It's like Gromit is realizing that Wallace is the were-rabbit right as we cut to Wallace ringing the doorbell.
Well, that was one I went through the doorbell ring. That's the
and he hops in on the in.
Right.
Also, I mean, the eye transitions, but the lamp, basically we have these
exactly
for the we have that great transition where basically it's the next morning after the first night the were-rabbit strikes. Wallace, he plops down, and of course behind him, structured all around the place, their little system is that the eyes light up for whoever is kind of putting the call through of they need antipesto, and we just see this great transition, basically fade from the pictures of people to the actual people at the town hall meeting, and also there are some great visual gags as well. Just going to highlight them while we're kind of going through. We have the great angel devil thing, again with the religious jokes too. To kind of go with that, because not only do we have the vicar, of course, holding up the cross that gets eaten of the
the cucumber cross.
Yeah. The cucumber crucifix, and then the next morning, again, I love this. He just did this for dramatic effect, and that's what I think is hilarious about it. That he's in the wheelchair, it's just like beware. He's wheeling himself down. And he gets up so he can basically point to the big silhouette in the glass dramatically. That's the only reason he was in that wheelchair.
Oh, go ahead.
No, for that dramatic reveal. Yeah.
Speaking of dramatic. Speaking of dramatic effects, I love the bit with the vicar and Victor where they're saying the bullet.
Yeah, we do the Blucher. We do Young Frankenstein gag.
There's the thunder and the lightning outside.
And one of my favorite part was the line from that part is 24 carat.
None rest.
And Victor just has to finally close the shutters. Oh, come on.
Again, they're borrowing from the best on that one with Frankenstein.
That's from Young Frankenstein?
Well, I mean, it's the old Blucher gag. Basically, you say Frau Blucher, and then basically you have lightning and the horses are freaking out, and basically just kind of taking a cue from that.
Okay.
Oh, Ezra, if you haven't seen Young Frankenstein, man, do yourself a favor.
Frankenstein.
I haven't seen it. It's on Netflix, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, you'd love it, man. You'd love it.
I know I would. I know I would.
No, there's literally no excuse. There's no excuse. Just watch it.
Classic Brooks.
So you want to talk about it? We haven't really talked a lot about Hutch. We just kind of said the reveal of Hutch. So what do we like about it?
Yeah, I mean, I said right at the beginning, he is my favorite element of this movie, at least on a comedic level. I just think all the comedy around him is just gold.
And again, let's highlight the great Peter Salas, because again he is voicing a dual role in this movie as Hutch and as himself, but still one's a little bit more on helium. And again, he has kind of a different. I
just love how the Hutch version of Wallace is just basically like the most simplistic, like all the all the trademark Wallace.
It's Wallace boiled down. He's doing an impression of himself, and it's funny.
It's like there's this guy attacking. There's like something's happening. It's like, hey, I'm off to bed, Gromit.
I'm off to bed, Gromit.
it's like Wallace Rabbit doesn't give a shit.
It's like everything he says is like totally like a token Wallaceism. It's
that's
like
totally
a line that Wallace says like all the time.
We have this great moment of just again after that. Again, we have such a balance of comedy and heart and drama in this film so well. Is that moment? I don't want to be a rabbit. And again, he's. Gromit is comforting his master, and of course, so Hutch he presents the solution as he's as he's rebuilding the Mind-O-Matic, and Wallace then he has this jovial kind of moment of like, oh, look at me go, boy, I'm good, look at that. Just again, we have such a great kind of command over that in this movie.
Look at him go.
That's another look at him go. That's another great example of, like I was saying earlier, about how the film will give like a moment for like a lot of pathos, but then it'll instantly jump back into a gag, and the pacing of that is just so on point.
And speaking of pacing, continue on is that we don't lose steam at all, which is something we're very in danger of, especially of doing a story that is familiar to stories we've seen done before with the werewolf story.
I would say if anything, it takes a little while for the actual werewolf plot to get going.
Yeah, because I mean, especially with the werewolf story, you always risk kind of like, okay, we know what's happening, we can infer what's happening, we've seen the story done 100 times, but we don't lose that steam. And again, like the moment we think, okay, now we've solved it with Hutch, and of course there's that door reveal. It's like, okay, and we don't even if you think even if you've picked up on it and it, if you're the smart guy in the audience, you're still like, it doesn't take long to get there. So it's like, okay, we are moving remarkably fast. Mm-hmm. It's got a good command.
I mean, it's like most people probably already figured it out, so let's just get on with it.
Yeah.
To quote Monty Python and the Holy Grail, get on with it! More British absurdist humor for you.
How great was that car chase with Gromit, where he is going up against the were-rabbit? And let's talk about the were-rabbit Jared's. How great is the were-rabbit?
Oh, it's a wonderful design.
Yeah, it's like a giant armature too, and it's.
My favorite part was when it had the bow, and all it had of Gromit was Wallace was the bow tie.
Yeah, right.
It's just like it's like this huge hulking monster going, "Arroo!" and it has a polka dot bow tie.
Like the bunny howls and like rabbits don't howl. Who cares? It's cool.
It's like people also don't turn into rabbits, so who cares?
Yeah. Do you guys think the rabbits in this movie were like a predecessor to the Rayman Rabbids?
I think the rabbits were a little bit around the same time.
Yeah, I think the rabbits were. Oh God, I think the rabbits were like 2008, and this was 2005.
Honestly, I'd like to say it's coincidental, honestly, but
I mean, don't get me wrong; these are like far better than the Rabbids will ever be. So,
right.
Technically, they first appeared in 2006, so it wasn't too far off.
Oh, did they really? I thought they first appeared in a Wii game.
Well, technically they did, but the game came out in 2006. I mean, that's when the Wii came out.
Oh man, I thought the Wii came out in 2008. Jesus, my memory's just failing me.
So it's probably in development around the same time this came out.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, man. Like I said, my memory is just like I could have sworn the Wii came out in 2008. God.
Like earlier, you thought this came out in 2006.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I actually need to change that in the video description. Remind me.
So yes, if we were all to kind of pick out like which actor are we all kind of really feeling most here? Because for me, I don't know, it might be Act 3. Act 3 is kind of when we hit the Tying Hall set piece.
I mean, yeah, Act 3 is really solid. I really like Act 2 as well. Like I said, I think Act 1 takes a while to really gain momentum.
Yeah, it's kind of setting up the status quo and kind of saying it's kind of the beginning of, it's like, okay, there's a monster. Okay, what
like, all right, we need to set up the, that Wallace is on a diet. We need to set up the love story. It's a lot of setup,
Act 2 goes remarkably fast when you really think about it.
I think Act 2 is probably my favorite if I got to break it down. I mean,
they're all good acts. They're all good, but they're all distinct.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
Which characters are favorite?
Well, I have acts. Like, which act do you feel most? Really, in particular?
I think part 2. I think it's engaging. I like all the stuff that goes on in it and all the different. I don't know. I'm gonna go on here, but it's everything. This whole style of it all. It's all the pacings right now.
Act 2 would include the car chase, right?
Yes.
If I had to choose my favorite act, I'd probably go with the final act. Probably because of it's a culmination of everything. Plus it shows the film's full creativity.
It does, and the final act is also where all the pathos and drama starts to come into play. So you got that too.
It almost feels like a Wallace and Gromit short, the third act, in many respects.
But my favorite part of that, one of my favorite parts of that was the dog fight.
That's the thing.
God, that was great.
Tiki, especially with something like Wrong Trousers. That whole dog fight feels very much in the vein of something from like Wrong Trousers.
Also, we've got to bring up that dog. Remind me of the dog's name.
Philip.
Like you said, you guys mentioned earlier, I love how Quartermain is like a mix of like pathetic Gaston and like evil Wallace.
Yes.
And one of my favorite gags from that particular scene is like when they both stop just to get coins back into the machine, and it's like you're like, here, like even Gromit hold hands in the bars, like, here, can you hold this real quick? Like hands it back to him, and then he helps him. Philip then helps and puts more coins in. Then they go back to fighting each other.
Oh, by the way, one of the great Philip gags we got to talk about the big transformation. Of course, we talking about the were-rabbits in general. The were-rabbit looks cool. Again, we could spend a long time talking about the design. It's kind of like, they did a way of like keeping the fingerprinting to a minimum somehow, and it still looks, it's very, very impressive, very natural, and how it's executed. But the big transformation of all, again, whenever you do the big hallmark of any werewolf transformations, period, any were transformation, of course, is the big reveal where American Werewolf in London. Of course, that one's it's hugely, again, that's kind of the big horror section of it all here.
Best werewolf transformation ever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's always kind of and of course, look at the originals, the Lon Chaney ones again, like that great kind of fade into the werewolf. It's a huge part of the movie. So if you don't deliver on this,
I'm pretty sure the original Lon Chaney Wolfman did not have a transformation scene.
Well, just like basically just faded into him wearing the makeup.
Well, that's what I mean. I meant the fade, and that's what I mean. I mean, I like.
I'm sorry. It's like when you say transformation scene, I think of like the different stages of it. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's like we see stages of it progress, but it's not exactly as as kind of inventive as it was later on. I'll admit.
Right.
The point is, it's kind of a cool history.
They also had limitations.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was different.
I mean, for the time, the Wolfman was revolutionary in that effect.
The point is that moment of your movie for a were transformation is pivotal, and one day they accomplish that very well. And of course, you see our familiar, wonderful character Wallace, and of course, like the teeth, and then the hands become big as they are at the same time simultaneously becoming furry. You get like the tail and Wallace's reaction to it, and
it's probably where the CG came into it.
Oh sure, I mean maybe the kind of shaves certain things out because it would take hours to do like every little bit of fur popping up. But what I'm getting is like while that is going on, we have the reactions from Victor and Philip, and like right before him when Gromit knows, he sees the moon is full, and again, I love that Gromit the whole scene. He is racing against the clock. He's trying to get home, and then of course, I love you if you're the observer and watcher, you can see the pieces coming together. That there's like wet paint on a Rush sign in a cut down tree. It's like they're walking into a trap, and you can see it, and then they're stuck there, and then of course it's just this.
I just find it amazing that Wallace that Gromit can drive.
Well, yeah, I mean, how can he not drive? Come on, it's Gromit. And just that moment where he locks the he locks the car, and it's Philip's reaction, like, okay, we were trying to be tough guys here, and like, oh god, he's locking the car, he knows something, and then he's like, Philip, attack him, attack the beast, and he's like digging under the car, he's so cowardly. So
I'm trying to beg Gromit to let him in, and Gromit just shakes his head like, nope.
I love the way.
Like, you're on your own, pal.
It's like, right, nope, I'm not doing it. We also do the thing where you never think of this in movies. You always want your guy to do this, and we actually did with Gromit, where after Gromit realizes in Victor, as he dramatically adjusts his wig as the lightning strikes, is like put it together like, oh, I know your little secret. Gromit does the logical thing that any of us would do in real life. He drives off and lets the guy tumble on the ground. He's like, okay, I got to tend to this. Screw that guy. I'm not gonna back down to him. It's kind of neat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like we've kind of made the rounds with this. One of the last things I want to hit on is how this stacks up as a Halloween movie.
Yes.
Well,
I think the fact that it just ties in.
One at a time. Go ahead.
Okay, Sandy, you go first. Sandy.
I think the fact that it just ties in so well with the classic like Wolfman-esque type atmosphere and setup and gags and things like that, and just the overall story and how it's delivered. I think that gives it enough of an excuse to be a nice Halloween film, or at least a holiday film.
I think. Well, there's a reason why they chose to release this in October. I mean, November. In October, it's a pastiche of classic Universal horror films. It's like October is the month of horror, and of course, this film obviously is inspired by those classic horror films, even though it might not be a direct one itself. It takes inspiration from those. So I can definitely see it as like they definitely released it during the season for that exact reason, of course.
I think
to market it as basically marketed as the Wallace and Gromit Halloween special.
Yeah, I think it's quite. It's not very often you get family films like this, that pay tribute to classic monsters and things like that, or just basically Halloween family films in general.
Well, you really didn't get anything like that until Frankenweenie many years later.
What about Frankenweenie?
Yeah, the whole Halloween with tributes to classic monsters.
Oh yeah, that was the next one we got. What other ones have we seen? Probably not. Not very much yet, right?
Like Nightmare, obviously.
Yeah, but that was way back in '93.
They have some of the Leica horror films, I guess.
Coraline, I think, was like Coraline and Paranorman.
Yeah,
they didn't really tribute to classic, but they were horror though.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Coraline can be considered a classic.
Well, I forgot we were kind of lumping in.
What I mean is it wasn't tributing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Coraline's my favorite Leica movie, but what I'm saying is it wasn't paying tribute to classic.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, I turned the.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Coraline is my favorite. Probably, not my favorite stop motion movie, but definitely my favorite Leica movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything else, obviously it's not specifically tied to Halloween, like they don't celebrate Halloween in the movie, but if anything else, it feels like a good fall movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like with the whole focus on vegetables.
Yeah,
right, there's a focus on vegetables, there's a focus on, the season in general.
And also, there's pumpkins.
Yeah, there are pumpkins. That's right. That helps.
And there's a giant pumpkin, not as big as Stinky's pumpkin, but it's a giant pumpkin.
We'll talk about Stinky's pumpkin.
There's a giant pumpkin linked to a Jaws reference, which is how can you get any better than that? It's like come back, go away. But I mean, it's so tonally right. It strikes just the right tonal chords, and the neat thing about it is that it doesn't need it's great around Halloween. It fits like a glove around Halloween, but it's also a movie that's good any time of the year because again, it's the werewolf story. It doesn't necessarily it's horrific. It fits the classic Universal horror films. So well. It's an inventive twist on it. It's an inventive all ages twist on it.
It's kind of funny now that considering DreamWorks is owned by Universal.
Yeah, right.
Oh, what a twisted web DreamWorks weaves. Oh boy. But yeah, it is just it's a film that just rarely, we gotta acknowledge, because we're saying so many nice things about this movie. It's so rare that you have a movie that just kind of is kind of brimming with this much kind of goodwill and positivity. No one has a nasty word to say about this movie, because again, it earns its place. It earns its place as just kind of this, just a great kind of wholesome. It's wholesome entertainment that anyone can enjoy. It's top tier animation. It's got comedy. It's got heart, and it's got these characters that you care about.
Definitely earned all the praise and awards it got.
Yeah, it's everything you want in a cinematic experience. It really is, and it's something that, if it came on, you would be compelled to watch it. I feel, and again, I feel that's something in any Halloween movie you would want, and just any movie, period. But again, it's something that kind of gets you kind of in a Halloween headspace without necessarily having to be around Halloween. Kind of gets you in that, you're thinking of the universe of horror monsters to an extent. You're thinking of, okay, Wolfman. It's a story about transformation. It's a story about kind of it's an adventure before it's Halloween, but it's a monster that kind of gets you in that headspace. So it's kind of a great mixture. It's a great mixture in that way.
Basically, back in 2005, you had two options as far as stop motion goes. You had Corpse Bride or this, and this is definitely the better of the two.
I gotta wonder. I think stop motion just goes great with horror because of that, just kind of on that almost that recognition you have of the natural world. At the same time, you can do a lot. You can go creepy with it very easily. You can go creepy with stop motion very easily because they move differently than us. You can do it's easier to get more inventive and do monsters and do kind of spirally structures and everything. And because of that, I think that's why stop motion.
You can go Caligari on everybody.
Yeah, rare. Can you guys think of any stop motions that aren't just kind of happy go lucky feature length stop motions?
Oh God.
Other than this one and probably Shaun the Sheep, no.
And Kubo is probably the closest I can think to that.
Oh, are you kidding me? Hugo is not happy-go-lucky.
No. Kubo.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, Hugo. When I said Hugo, that was a slip of tongue. Yeah, Kubo. Kubo is not happy-go-lucky, Dragon. Are you kidding me?
Well, Pirates is pretty happy-go-lucky, and Chicken Run, I don't know if that's happy-go-lucky, but
I would consider Chicken Run happy-go-lucky. I mean, Chicken Run's got some dark stuff in it, but
you can pretty much say anything by Aardman is happy-go-lucky. Like, they really don't do a lot of overly dramatic or overly serious films.
Box Trolls is pretty happy-go-lucky.
Not happy.
So is James and the Giant Peach, definitely.
Well, happy-go-lucky. Okay, happy-go-lucky is poor choice, but I mean just not horror, not really consistent with horror, I guess is what I mean. So Kubo's more adventure over horror, would you say?
I mean, it's more on the adult side of things,
yeah.
But Fantastic Mr. Fox is definitely, a straight comedy.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we've pretty much covered the gambit on this thing. You guys got any more final thoughts on it? I'm pretty much good.
No, I don't think I have anything more to say.
All right, Dragon, you good?
It's really good.
All right, folks. Well, next Hijinks we'll be doing is going to be another Nickelodeon special, and the only thing I'll say about this one is that it's one that I've been wanting to do for a while, and for my money, this has one of my favorite haunted houses that I've seen in an animated Halloween special. So I really love the haunted house in this one. So, but what show is it? You'll have to stay tuned. All right, folks. Well, that does it for tonight's selection, and our spirits grow weary. But don't worry, they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks. Don't forget the crackers.